Hamjambo wakulima, and welcome to today's installment of The Kenyan Farmer. So, what do you feed your cows? Most small-scale farmers in Kenya do not have a specific fodder source for their livestock. In fact, they process the various fodder sources available at the farm level to feed the cows. This works if you have 1 or 2 cows with average milk production. Today, I want to try and identify some few fodder types adopted by Kenyan farmers as a source of livestock feed or fodder. In this video, I want to focus on grasses. A good friend of mine, who is a plant scientist, usually tells me that for one to identify a plant, it's good to have an idea or an image of how the flower or the fruit looks like. You know, the leaves and the stem may be similar to many other plants. I will try my best to stick to this system, since this is a basic identification video. I just hope my cheap phone camera will not put me to shame. Panicum is a perennial fodder crop, which can be directly grazed to livestock or cut, harvested to make hay. Propagation is mainly done by seed, mature seed that is. But I like to use rooted splits. It's quite a hardy grass that performs well in most semi-arid counties in Kenya. It's not easily infected by Napier stunt or head smut diseases. I can use a djembe to uproot a vigorous mother plant. This one looks good to me. What do you think? After uprooting, I use a panga to remove the excess foliage. Reducing the leaves will control water loss and give the planting material a chance to root without additional stress. Just like that. You can use the same panga or your hands to get the individual splits. Some of these mature ones will have some rhizome-like structures that improves chances of survival. This will be my planting material. Of course, these planting activities are done at the onset of rains. I am using one hand to record, so I will use this stick to make planting holes on this terrace. It's very important to fortify your terraces by using plants with fibrous roots like grasses. By the way, check out my soil erosion control video and understand all about terracing. In my videos, I try not to go deep into technical stuff or too much calculations. It's because those are not my strong areas in education, and I doubt many of my target audience will be interested in such details. Of course, I am aware there are some few guys in the middle of the curve who like such stuff, but I guess YouTube is about numbers. And so, I try to focus on the green part of the population. And so, I would like to encourage you to research more on specific areas of farming if you are interested. Knowledge is power, it's what they say. In my previous ornamental flowers video, I did talk about some few foxtail grass varieties used in landscaping. A video I would like you to take time and watch too, if you like landscaping, that is. African foxtail grass, in my view, this is the most common grass in Kenya, especially in arid and semi-arid counties. It does very well even in the black cotton soils, but at the same time, it doesn't tolerate too much waterlogging. Planting is carried out through broadcasting or drilling of the mature seeds. Now, from my literature review research, I have learned that the young grass contain higher levels of toxic compounds called oxalates. This toxic compound has the potential to cause disease in some farm animals. This toxin tends to bind to calcium and other minerals in the livestock body. Mature grass can be fed directly by grazing the animals. It can also be harvested and baled. This grass reminds me of another grass called Nandisetaria grass that I have not covered in this video. If you are interested, you can look up for more information on the same. Bush rye is a very common type of grass found growing in most bushes around Kenya. It does not necessarily need the soil to be very fertile, and so you can find it in bushes and rocky areas, especially in arid and semi-arid counties in Kenya. It, however, prefers loose sandy loams, and it is quite drought tolerant. Planting is carried out through broadcasting or drilling the seeds in furrows. This grass is highly palatable to livestock, and so it can be easily overgrazed due to high preference by the livestock. It can be grazed directly or harvested to make hay. Maasai love grass is also another kind of grass that farmers grow for hay production. It performs well in most arid and semi-arid counties within Kenya. It prefers sandy loam soils, and it is tolerant to salinity, alkalinity, and drought conditions. It, however, doesn't like waterlogging. It has characteristic flat, attractive spikelets or fruits. These are often purple-like on young plants. Planting is carried out through broadcasting or drilling in furrows. The mature dry seeds are the ones used as planting material. Brachiaria is one of the most preferred grass for making hay in Kenya. It can also be used to make silage, but most of my friends make hay. There are also some few farmers who specialize in planting material like seed or splits production. It can grow well in various soils, from sandy loam to black cotton soil, but do not tolerate waterlogging. This grass is very aggressive and it's drought tolerant too. It's a perennial grass that can live for more than 15 years. There are many varieties of this grass in Kenya. However, mulatto too is the most common, especially in hot climates. This grass has a very nice fibrous root system, making it a good choice for soil conservation too. You can choose to use rooted splits or seeds for propagation as planting material. Farmers also like it because of its relatively higher crude protein content. Rhodes grass is also another alternative for hay production. There are many varieties of this grass in Kenya, but the most common one is Boma Rhodes, I guess. The truth is that I cannot tell apart these varieties until today. To me, they are like two drops of water. I have little experience with this grass, so maybe you can do your research on its performance. The main method of propagation is via seed. You can buy certified seeds from main seed companies in Kenya or even farmers. Guatemala grass grows well in same areas where Napier grass and other fodders do well. This grass can withstand challenges like Napier stunt and head spots diseases. It will not perform well in arid areas, but mid to high altitude areas. The main method of propagation is by use of root splits, and they are not as cheap. Try buying from those farmers that multiply this grass. You will be amazed. It has good forage and it is good source of material for making silage. Sorghum is one of the likely fodder source that can replace maize. Most farmers know of the white sorghum and maybe the red type. There are also many other types, although not as common. Now, there are also other sorghum varieties that have been developed for fodder purposes. As compared to maize, sorghum fodder has relatively lower energy, so they are ideal for livestock with lower energy requirements. Sorghum is drought tolerant and can survive even in counties that receive little rainfall. Let me also take this opportunity to mention another grass closely related to sorghum called Sudan grass. From a distance, unless with an experienced eye, you can hardly differentiate them, especially when they are young, just before flowering. Although the stems may not be as strong as those of sorghum, this will perform okay in the same areas as the sorghum. Now, let me talk about something every farmer should be cautious when dealing with sorghum-like grasses. These plants have a toxic compound in their tissues that can result to poisoning of animals. Have you ever heard of prussic acid poisoning? Or maybe you just noticed some few animals staggering like drunkards after a meal of sorghum fodder. Well, this toxin is quite volatile, and biological processes in silage making can reduce the toxicity of this compound. And so, you'll find most farmers shy away from making sorghum hay or even chopping it green directly for livestock feeding. Severity of poisoning also matters with the animal, with non-ruminants being more susceptible than the ruminants. Napier grass, or elephant grass, if you like, it is the most common source of livestock fodder for most dairy farmers, especially around Mount Kenya. It will not tolerate prolonged water stress or drought conditions. You can get even 15 tons of dry matter per acre annually. So, most small-scale farmers with zero grazing prefer this grass. The subdivision of land into small parcels in these areas haven't helped the situation. There are many varieties of Napier grass, both dwarf and tall varieties. Some of the common varieties you may have heard are Kakamega 1 and Kakamega 2. Napier grass is harvested when it's about 1 meter tall and then processed for livestock consumption, or can be preserved in silage for later use. To propagate Napier grass, you use stem cuttings. This is the most common method. You can also use rooted splits. You should, however, source clean planting material from reputable farmers or government research institutions. You don't want to plant material already infected with stunting disease and the like. Now, do you know that Napier grass can form hybrids with millet varieties? In fact, there is a new variety called Super Napier, Pakichong 1, that is a hybrid. It is being marketed to have higher crude protein levels, among other good properties. Maize is a staple food in Kenya. You cannot talk about food security without mentioning maize in the same statement. Maize is also an ideal source of livestock feed, Right from the seed to the plant itself, maize has higher energy content and digestibility compared to sorghum. Over-reliance of maize for human food and livestock feed is a big debate out there. Be that as it may, farmers are seriously growing maize for silage-making purposes. Yellow maize is the most preferred type of maize for this work. And now that I'm speaking about maize, please check out my traditional seed selection video and learn some old methods that have been used in seed selection in Kenya. In fodder production, farmers grow the maize normally, although often with closer spacing. They take care of it until just before the seeds harden, what they call the milk stage. The crop is then harvested and shredded into fine material that is ideal for silage making. This material is then compacted in some airtight plastic silage bags for long-term storage. Easier said than done, huh? Now, these are not the only fodder grasses in Kenya. You can also look up for others like hostel grass and the other one that I mentioned earlier, Cenchrus grass. Yes, Nandi Cenchrus grass, if this is your area of interest, of course. I have once used sugarcane as a source of livestock fodder, and I can say the results were not as bad. Curiosity, or I should say creativity, at times pays off. I hope you have learned something today. Remember to like, share, and please subscribe. You can also support my activities via the link on the description of this video. And since this is my last video for this year, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Read John 3:16 and understand the reason for the season. See you in the next video and God bless you.